Welcome back. It may become apparent that this channel is a bit erratic. That's just kind of me, to be honest. And if you were expecting another painting job or a modelling job, then alas, no. But as every painter and modeller knows, you have to eat. And one thing that I have been doing for the last couple of years is baking. For some reason, it just took to baking. It's quite relaxing. So while I'm looking for the next project, trying to find the right project, because I don't want to just do things for the sake of doing them. But I do want to keep the videos going. So I get asked quite often about my rolls, because being a sado, I quite often take photographs of the rolls when I've finished making them and share them to friends just to wind them up, saying, look at that, fresh batch in. And spoiler alert, I am Scottish. The accent should have gave that away. However, one thing that we Scots are united by, it's not iron brew, it's not deep fried food, it is rolls. We love rolls. And there's a secret in Scotland of which kind of bread that you like. So if you're a true Scotsman and you asked somebody, right, you've got a bowl of soup, what are you using to dunk into that soup? If they say, I'm using a bit of bread, like, I don't know, a bit of sourdough with seeds in it or something, then they're not true Scotsmen at heart. If, however, they say, this is home bread, by the way, not stuff in a restaurant, because you won't find what I'm about to reveal in a restaurant. If you do it at home, if your mum makes you soup, whatever it is, the heartiest bread and the best for soup is without a doubt the champion that is Mother's Pride. Now, you might never have heard of this before in your life. If you're Scottish, then you've probably either wandered down memory lane or went, stop spoiling the secrets, Robert. So, sorry about that. However, we love what is called a plain loaf. Like if your mum said, away to the shop and get us a loaf, that just meant go and get whatever bread there was available. But if she said, go to the shop and get us a plain loaf, she meant one thing and one thing only, and that was get some Mother's Pride, which fundamentally tastes completely different to all other breads, and that's a hill I will die on. This is what I would call the perfect roll, me personally. It's up to you. Feel free to bake these rolls and tell me otherwise. However, I will also say they are delicious. That's just a fact. You can't really dispute that. So we're going to start off with a list of ingredients, which is, obviously, you need strong white flour. Now, I use a kilo of Allinson's flour. It's just really good flour. I don't know why. It's slightly yellow. It's got a higher protein than most supermarket flours. I have been looking, apparently protein level is what makes a really good stretchy dough for pizza bases and stuff. I do also make pizzas. No, I'm not going to make a video because that's hit and miss. Sometimes I smash them, other times they look like soup. So you need really good flour. Then you need 500ml of lukewarm water. Now, I just fill a measuring jug up from the tap, 500ml, and then I stick it in the microwave for a minute and a half till it's warmish. And then into that you put 2 teaspoons of sugar. You stir it till it dissolves, and then you put in your actin yeast into the water, and then you set it aside for 10 minutes. And you got to stir that in. It has to be of a certain temperature. You can't put it in cold water because it does nothing. It just sits there and looks horrendous. Whereas if you put it in lukewarm water, it activates, and then you get like a kind of frothy beer looking thing. You need really good salt. Now, this is another hill I will die on. And if I just said the word salt and you thought, oh, it's just that stuff you get in a plastic tumbler and it comes out as wee white granules, you have been living a lie your whole life. Get yourself some Malden sea salt. Normal salt, like table salt, whatever you buy, the kind of cheap salt, that's bleached and is actually really bad for you, that salt. Even the taste is kind of harsh. So, no, I'm not sponsored by Malden. I wish I was. Hey, infinite free salt. That would be a delight. However, I've rambled about the salt. Fire in your lard, melt the lard, rub it into the flour with your fingers so that it kind of becomes unfeelable. If you can run your fingers through the flour and you can feel lumps, you just massage the lumps out into the flour. And then once you've kind of got that, it doesn't have to be perfect, you can feel like the odd tiny wee bit, that's fine. But once you've done that and you've made a wee divot in the middle, then your yeast solution has matured. Then you just pour that into the middle, and then I get a nice wee wooden spoon handle. So then you just stir it until it starts coming away from the side of the bowl and being a bit claggy. At which point you can take away the spoon and start working with your hands. And the idea is you're looking for it to kind of get all the bits in before you take it out the bowl. There will be bits at the bottom of the bowl, which is fine. So just empty the whole lot out onto the counter. If you've got them wee silicone tools, them scraper tools, that'll come in handy right about now. If you haven't, you can just use your fingers or the spoon handle. But just get the bits out. Now this is not me being Scottish and tight, this is actually because I'm going to use the bowl again in a minute. So I want it to be clean. And this is where the magic comes in and your hard work pays off and it saves you go to the gym. So you basically just turn, put your, well I'm right-handed, so you just turn the flour and then push away with your right hand and then coax it back in, turn, push away with your right hand, and essentially you're just kind of doing that for about 10 minutes. You'll notice that it changes texture, it goes from a kind of rough looking dough to a kind of slightly smoother dough. I can't really get it uber smooth, I think it's just because of the recipe that I use. And then you're working that for about 10 minutes until it comes into a ball. You can shape it into a ball like that, and then you just you grease the bowl a wee bit. By grease I just put in a wee bit of oil, just some good oil, a wee bit in the bottom of the bowl, and then put your dough in, swin it around in the oil, flip it upside down and swin it around the oil, and then you cover it and set it aside somewhere warmish for, not hot, just warmish. I just set it on the counter next to the washing machine and that does it for 2 hours. And then we come back. At this point the hard work's all been done, so this is easy street now. You just return dough. Depends on loads of factors I've yet to figure out as to, sometimes it expands and fills the bowl, other times it doesn't. Could be the yeast, could be the heat, could be anything, I don't know. However, you put it on the counter, spread it out a bit, knock a bit of the air out of it, and then I'm measuring it into 110 grams balls, which, as you can see, there's a wee technique here where you just kind of fold in with your fingertips underneath the bottom, try and roll it into a wee ball, pinch the bottom just to seal it, and then I use my hands shaped like a V, which I just kind of rub back and forward, and that seals the bottom into a wee rounded bit. And then I put it onto a baking tray, which I've put on some parchment paper and sprinkled on the semolina flour. This is where the semolina flour comes in handy, and it's also where the Scottish thing comes from, because without it, it's not really a Scotch roll. So you're looking to get about a dozen rolls on one tray and 15 rolls in total, although one of those rolls will inevitably be bigger than the other. Sometimes after I get to the dozen, I just kind of combine all the rest of the dough into a wee mini loaf. And then you set them aside for 90 minutes, after which time they should have risen, in this case noticeably so. You're also going to want to preheat the oven about 80 minutes in to, well, I do it 240 for 10 minutes on fan assisted, because I like well fired rolls. That's a very Scottish thing. I recommend you try it if you haven't done before. And I put one tray on the top on the right hand side, the other tray on the bottom on the left hand side, both in the middle of the oven, not like touching the ceiling or the base. And then after 10 minutes I switch them, so, and I've flipped them round, so just pick the whole lot up, flip it 180 and put it back into the oven. What that'll do is give you a more even burn on the front and the back. It's not really burn, it doesn't really char them, you'll see in a minute. At which point you bring them out and they're steaming hot and absolutely delightful. If you've got any strength of character and you can wait, I recommend you do that, because you don't want to burn your mouth. I have been there and done that. Leave them sit, cool down on a wee rack there. There's the money shot, look at that. But they're ready to eat at any point, just, it's up to you, whatever your pain tolerance is. If you try it, let me know what you think, put some comments down below. I'd be really interested to see, actually, especially with me tweaking the recipe, so I'll be curious to see what you think. As a wee side note, they do actually freeze perfectly. Wait till they cool down before you put them in the freezer. Don't put them in hot. And then just defrost them in the microwave for like a minute or 30 seconds, depends how good your microwave is, and they taste like they've just come out the oven. Happy eating!